Okay guys, so as you can see we have this all laid out. I got all my fire lay and everything I need right here. You want to keep it close by when you're doing this and make sure you have this done before you try to start your fire, because you don't want to be, oh, I lit my tinder bundle, it's going, wait, I don't have wood, and you have to run around trying to find wood and stuff everywhere to build it up. It's just a problem and you're probably going to lose your fire doing that. I'm going to be using matches for this demonstration. If you're just starting out, as I said before, learning fire, you should either stick with matches or a lighter until you get efficient and confident in yourself to be able to just light a fire, to set it up and light a fire. And then you can keep progressing. Like if you want to use matches, make a challenge where you can only use one match to light your fire and that's it. And then once you get there, then you can start messing around with things such as parabolic mirrors, a magnifying glass, making embers. You can move on to that once you're proficient with it. Don't jump the gun and try to jump right into some more advanced fire starting techniques. Some people, I have seen some people that can do that, but it's rare. There are exceptions to the rule. But for the most part, take baby steps and just work your way up. Okay, one match. I'm just going to keep that right here. Now, I got my birch bark here. It is a little damp, but it should light fairly well. I got a nice fistful of it. So I'm just going to rotate this stuff over here. Throw that in there. So I get my smaller sticks closer to me. There we go. Now another thing you can do to start this is you can actually take your small bundle of sticks, take about half of them or something like that, and you can actually just lay them right on top, spread them out a little bit. So you've already got that there. That's one less step you have to do. So you already got some fuel so you can buy yourself some time. So we're just gonna light this match to light this. And when you light your tinder bundle, you want to light it from the bottom because heat moves up. So if you just light the top of your thing like this or something, or over here, you might not get good results. It might only burn the top and leave the bottom, or just smolder. So you want to light from underneath because heat rises and so will the flame. So we're just gonna let this light. Now as you can see, the birch bark, even while it's wet, it's still igniting and catching fire because of the oils it contains. It makes a very good tinder source. When adding wood to your fire and stuff, make sure the flame has completely risen above the fuel you've put on. You don't want to just throw stuff on there and smother it. So we got a really nice flame going right now from the birch bark. So we're just going to put some more kindling on there and just build it up, get it going. Now once your kindling has caught and everything, you're going to want to use your next grade of sticks, but don't throw all of them on at once. You can even break them in half to make them smaller. Some of these have a little moisture. You can see the smoke coming off of them. And you want to spread the wood out when you put it on. You don't want to glob it all on top. And you're just going to keep burning. We're just going to keep adding to build our fire up. And if you notice the way I'm putting this wood on there, I'm taking maybe 1 or 2 sticks and I'm keep going around the fire. The reason for this is so it doesn't smother and it keeps oxygen going into the fire. That's something I should point out. Fire is a triangle, and what I mean by that is it needs three things to survive. It needs oxygen, fuel, and heat. If you take one of those things out of the equation, the fire will not ignite, it will not light. Alright, so I just burnt through my next step of kindling, and now I'm going to start moving on to my fuel type sticks. These are going to take a little longer to catch. But as you can see, I'm doing the same thing. I'm just gradually adding sticks. Now, something you need to keep in mind with a fire is a fire is like a baby. It has to be tended to, especially in its early stages, as much as possible, and you have to baby that fire up. So you have to keep an eye on it, keep feeding it, and you can't feed it too much or anything like that. Just keep an eye on it, keep tending it. Something else to keep in mind is, see how this stick was a little burnt and it was out on the edge over here? You can just take that stuff and just pick it up and throw it into the fire. Now I'm just cleaning up some of the little stuff I had left over that's underneath some of these bigger sticks. Just throwing that on. Now the last thing we need to do is move on to our fuel. And that's these bigger sticks. And then once the flame gets up good, you can just put your fuel right on top and it should burn just like everything else. Okay guys, so while my fire is burning over here, I'm just going to let it burn out. Something I wanted to talk about is location and your choices of where to put fire or where to make it. Also, just different kinds of tinder to make a tinder bundle. I'm going to be doing a whole video on making a bird's nest and tinder bundles and all that stuff, but just as a base knowledge. So if you notice where I picked to put the fire, it's a open patch of ground. Something you never want to do is build a fire at the base of a tree. No matter how alive or how thick that tree is, it will eventually catch fire and it will go up, and that's just a mess you won't be able to deal with without fire department and or having to have your face all over the news for starting a forest fire. Another thing, do's and don'ts, another thing, just some people don't realize this. You'll see when people make campfires, I do it too, you put rocks around the fire. That's a good thing to do. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying not to pull rocks from a water source. So there's a stream right here behind me. So if I were to go and grab rocks from there and put them around the fire, the water in those rocks and their waterlogged will heat up and actually crack the rocks, and they can actually explode. Sorry, my fire's going out and I'm getting smoked out over here. So, and it moved with me. Okay, so now that my fire's done being mean and interrupting my video, where was I? Okay, yeah, the water in those rocks being heated up as fast as it is because of fire will actually cause the rocks to explode and fragment. Now, this can be dangerous. It can actually kill you in some cases or cause serious damage. So just don't pull or don't use soaking wet rocks. That's a good thing. If it rains on them a little bit, it's fine. They'll be fine. But don't go pulling it from a stream or a lake and in the water and taking them and putting them around your fire. It's just a no-no. It's just bad. Anyway, now talking about tinder. Now, tinder is the key to your fire. That stuff has to ignite fast. Like you saw, I use birch bark, which in my tree series I'll be going over different kinds of birch. I was actually using gray birch, dead gray birch bark, It works once gray birch, not gray birch, wow, my bad, black birch. Once black birch dies, its bark will actually roll up and paper just like paper birch, but it doesn't work as well as paper birch. But nonetheless, it's a birch and it works really well. As you just saw, it ignited when it was wet. It's because birch trees carry an oil in them. Paper birch is the best for that though. I didn't have any readily available around here. So, birch bark is something that can be utilized to use as tinder by itself, but you want a good amount. You don't want to peel off a little inch sliver of it and then go ignite it and complain that it didn't work. As you saw, I got a good handful, baseball, maybe a softball sized clump of it, and it was pretty compressed. And it ignited really well. Another source for your tinder would be dry pine needles. You can use dry pine needles, a big clump of them. They'll ignite and they'll keep a flame, but they burn really fast, so your fire needs to be set up extremely well for that. Another source, some people use leaves. I'm kind of against it for the sole fact that they ignite really fast, and a lot of times they can smolder if you don't already have a flame. But you can use leaves if you're in a situation, dried leaves. Don't go grabbing stuff like this, leaves mixed in with dirt and all that's not going to light. And if it does, it's not going to sustain a flame for very long. So you can use that. Another thing is bark. I'll be showing this in my tinder thing. Certain trees and certain dead barks you can find on the ground, they actually have a fibrous layer. Actually, there's a wet one over here I have. Hold on. Alright, so here's what I was talking about with the bark. This is soaking wet because it got rained on. So that's why I didn't use it. But see this stuff in here I can just pull off? These fibers. That's the stuff that makes really good tinder bundles, and that's what I use for my bird's nest 99% of the time. Another source you can use is dry dead grass. If you're in an area that happens to have tall dead grass, you can actually make nice tinder bundles out of that. That works extremely well too. I'm in the woods and there's obviously no grass around, so that's a null factor right there. There's also other things you can use as tinder and things like that. Sawdust, a feather stick can be used to just ignite and use just to start your fire. I'll be showing you how to do a feather stick. Probably, actually, it might be the next video. I don't know. It just depends on my mood or what I feel like doing right now. But yeah, there's quite a few sources. I just gave you some basic sources right there. So if you're ever out in a situation you need to make a fire, those things are readily available, especially where I live. Dead leaves and pine needles you can usually find everywhere. Bark, as long as you're somewhere with trees, and if you're not somewhere where there's trees, it's usually tall dead grass. So there's that trade-off.